I always love that suspense of like waiting for it to switch to saying it's live.
Yeah. And me, I'm just like, I'll just dance. If I dance and have a cheesy face, it'll be great.
Oh, so hello, Jessi, and welcome to the Business Brilliantly podcast.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How about you? Well, I'm coming out of this lovely 9-day illness and sounding worse than I did when I was most afflicted, but I'm doing well otherwise. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm watching it pour down buckets of rain outside. It literally like just started. Wow. So I wish you're in California. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Where in California
Yes.
are you?
I am in like the Pasadena area. So I'm just outside of LA proper and Hollywood and all that kind of stuff. And here it's buckets of sunshine just raining down outside. So
I was like, I'd love to send you some of our rain because I know you guys wish you had it.
yes, we would love it. I do. Oh, Ben just said Jessi has her voice back. Sort of.
So
loosely.
This is the inaugural run of using Google Hangouts and webinar software and YouTube to also record the podcast. So now we have guest audience commentary. And more importantly, they can ask questions that we can answer at the end of the recording. So kind of exciting.
Yes. I love being a guinea pig.
Well, and I figure if anybody to want to do this, first of all, the first person should be somebody that's pretty comfortable on camera. And so I'm going to let you tell everybody that's listening a bit about yourself and what it is that you do and how to correctly pronounce the name of your YouTube channel.
Yes, I know that is probably the number one question. And what's funny about that is, when people say, what's, because I usually go into the spiel, what I do, like I'm Jess and I do YouTube. Which is very interesting that it is now a verb and not just a website to watch cat videos. But I create content 3 times a week on one channel called Sanifilippo. It is like Hug a Hippo, but far more dangerous. And then I have a second channel that's like a day in the life vlogging, like kind of, seeing behind the scenes on how I create some of the main channel content and also kind of like a glimpse into my family life. I have my spouse, Steve, and my son, Dylan, who's 7. So people are always kind of intrigued to kind of like see what the wizard's working with behind the curtain. So I started that channel at the beginning of this year, just to kind of add that dimension to what I was creating.
You've been hiding that channel from me because
I know it's not something that I top line, and I'm kind of wrestling with how I want to top line, and if I want to just incorporate it into kind of the Sanifilippo, humor, comedy experience that I built, or if I want to kind of tangent and have like an offshoot umbrellaed version, that's just the Shug life and that all of that content exists there. So, and then maybe cross promote it. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. So
I think that such is the life of anybody doing anything online. It's like, okay, and what am I going to do this week? How's this going to work?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Finding where to make it fit, or if you're going to make a whole new space that it fits in.
Well, and that's actually how the idea of doing this live came to be, was just watching your YouTube videos and being like, whoa, if I did these live, because we create so much content and it's like, where am I going to put it? Am I going to reuse it? Am I going to put it in multiple places, cross promote, etc.? So right. I've always said I wanted to do stuff on YouTube, but I don't really have time to create even more content.
Yeah.
So awesome. Now we're multi-purposing, it says dual purpose because it's YouTube later as well. Whoa, exactly. That means my inaugural YouTube presence will also be with Jessi.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh, it's So funny. But yeah, I mean, I just to kind of speak to that a little bit, I know that that's a big, it's a big thing. Last year we kind of started to hear the murmurs because Christine and I, we're both part of the blogging world. We've been in that space, in that medium for so long. And last year was really kind of the year at our conferences and things like that, where you were sort of starting to hear the murmurs that grew into just like inside voices, to grew into like outside voices, to grew into megaphone, that video is the thing. Video is the new thing. And so I know that a lot of blogging creatives have started to really approach the idea, how do I cross over? Do I need to start doing a completely different thing? How can I adapt what I'm currently doing, whatever niche I'm creating to in blogging? How can I bring that to video? How do I make that a visually captivating piece of content that can live on YouTube or Vimeo or, Vine or Instagram video or whatever? So I know that I've seen a lot of the trend in, probably the later half of last year of bloggers really kind of embracing it, as opposed to like, having I'm on principle and standard of being an OG blogger. I'm just going to keep with the written word and that's it. And not necessarily abandoning that, but kind of doing that harmonious, like bringing together of the two mediums. So that's kind of been fun to watch, because I've seen a lot of, our peers kind of come at it, and they're doing great, innovative, fun things. And I think it's breathing life into both mediums, that kind of wasn't there before, because it's a hybrid space as opposed to A and B, now it's kind of like A.1 and B.1 or whatever. So.
Well, it's funny getting back into podcasting. I've seen so many people in certain circles, not so much in the blogging circle, but more like in people that have businesses that they're trying to run online, that are like, I'm going to try this new thing out, this new thing, podcasting.
Yeah, this newfangled thing I heard about.
Newfangled thing. And I'm like, I had my first podcast 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it isn't new, but it is, but it's definitely changing. And the more technology we have, it's substantially easier to create a podcast today than it was 10 years ago. And I imagine, have things changed a lot in the video world as well?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you go back, YouTube this year celebrated its 10th birthday. And, if you went back and you watched a video from, 2005 or 2006, you're seeing like, webcams back then that were, 5 megapixel. I mean, it was in terms of quality was crummy. Like everyone sounded like they were talking in a tin can. And, there weren't a lot of immediately digital video capturing solutions. So a lot of some people's processes were lengthy in capturing the footage and then having to convert the footage, and then, trying to edit in like Windows Movie Maker from Windows 95, or, what I mean? So it was a whole, it was a much larger undertaking, I think. And, kind of just a lot of the evolution of like rapidity and like the tempo of content and things like that really captures and engages like our fast-paced minds now. It's great that the technology is capable of keeping up with that, that there's so much out there for us to kind of grab at, that we have the ability to create things that are grabbable, without kind of getting really, really lost in the shuffle of it all. So I've definitely seen a major shift.
Now, when you do your videos, do you normally do them webcam? Do you use cameras?
Yeah. So what I do, I have.
Or wait, can you reveal the secret?
Oh yeah. You know what? And okay, it's so funny that you say that. Let's get into this first, kind of to segue into it. I recently attended VidCon, which for anyone who's unfamiliar is kind of like the Paramount, YouTube video space conference, that happens annually down in Anaheim. And that was last week. That's where I got my sickness from, Hank and John Green. No, I'm just kidding.
A little.
Just teeny bit, a little kidding, but mostly not kidding. And it was interesting because I was having a conversation with Dava from My Life Sucker. She does a lot of those parenting mom parody songs. And she and I were talking about how silly we think it is that everybody is so protective of their process. And, ultimately what it boils down to is none of it are secrets, because you and I could both have the same knowledge and the same equipment and the same technical know-how, but you're you and I'm me. So there's going to be pools of human beings that are going to be more interested in how you execute things with all the same tools available to you as I execute with all the same tools. So she and I, had a good chuckle. And I always do have a good chuckle that people are like, will you give me the farm? And I'm like, sure, but you gotta be the one feeding the chickens and, milking the cows and stuff. You can have the farm, but you got to keep it up. You know
I'll
what I
give
mean?
you the farm, but you got to plant your own corn.
Right, exactly. You got to plant your corn. Yeah. So, so I have, in terms of equipment, cameras, so much that my husband has joked that I could probably open like my own B&H Photo West Coast. I work on DSLRs is what I primarily shoot with, the Rebel line, because it's just kind of the most mid-level, user-friendly. I mean, it's very intuitive, and they have great video functionality, 1080p resolution and everything that you can do lots of stuff with them. And then I have probably 15 different types of lenses that I use, just to achieve the different looks and the different feels and all that kind of stuff. And then I have I have a shotgun mic. I have lavalier mics. I'm waiting for the day that built-in microphones are really sexy, but that day is not now.
Oh.
Nor is it anywhere in the future, I don't think. And then for kind of like on the go stuff, I use like a tiny Canon PowerShot HHS, 350 HHS. And then I just got my hands on a Samsung NX300. I'm looking at the box that's on my desk. The NX300 for more out and about stuff. Just kind of, and I'm letting that equipment grow with me as I grow, and kind of sort of too in like a weird fun prize box kind of way, as incentive for milestones and those kinds of things, in terms of like my growth and things like that online, with the content itself. So
when you get your first 10 comments, you can have a camera.
Yeah, exactly. When you get your first 10 comments, buy yourself a Polaroid, and then you have to scan all the pictures. No, just kidding.
you have to scan the still photos in and figure out how to.
And you have to stop motion them together. Yeah, it'll be very fun. Not time consuming at all. I mean, just like super easy.
Or computer intensive.
Yeah, right. No, you don't have to have big bulky scanners or anything like that for something like that.
Actually, picking up a lav mic is personally, I'm really kind of obsessed with having one.
Yes, they're fun. I have two, and my next one that I'm going to collect. I'm going to die and leave a museum of like, barely outdated technology in my wake.
I have so much camera gear, it's not even.
Oh, I'm sure. Well,
we shouldn't talk about that.
You're like, let's not get started. Our husbands are listening. But I really want to get my hands on one of the Rode lavaliers.
That's what I want to go buy, is the Rode Smart Lav Plus.
Yes, it's a good one. I've had a chance to play with it. Somebody had it, that I was working with on a project, and I was like, oh my goodness. But I found a couple that were kind of mid-range in terms of price point and a little higher quality. So they've been very fun to play with as well.
So we know that, having blogged for a long time, we know that different things have come along and disrupted blogging. I joked years ago that Twitter killed my blog, or almost killed it,
Mhm.
because it's a lot easier to type 140 characters.
Right.
Do you think Periscope is going to have much of an influence on YouTube?
Oh, definitely. Well, I don't know so much that it will have, you know, a disruptive sort of effect on it, but I do think it's going to have a complementary or a supplementary effect on it. I've already started to see it, brands and in terms of the business side of it, brands have kind of gravitated toward it a little bit out of curiosity and kind of seen what people can do and kind of how, how people are interacting with it. And, I know a lot of people are familiar, and some people might not be familiar with this fancy thing called engagement. That companies that sort of sustain people like you and I who are creating digital media as a means of income and livelihood. That it's about engagement. They want to see how much you can activate with the content that you're putting out there, like how much are you getting people interested and interacting, whether they're liking it or they're commenting or they're chiming in with their own dialogue on conversations and things like that. And Periscope is it's a cesspool. It's a hotbed for that. You're having, I'm totally, can you tell I did radio? That I'm like, for anyone unfamiliar, I keep saying that. But Periscope, the whole premise of the product is it's live broadcasting with a comment, a commenting system that's in real time. I mean, there's lag if you have like 9,000 people in a thing. But the one thing that I will say that I'll commend them, if I could pat anyone at Periscope's development team on the back, is that they capped commenters if the broadcast gets to a certain point. So if you have 9,000 people and 9,000 people can't comment, only, I've hopped into broadcasts that had 300 people in it and I wasn't able to comment. So the threshold is somewhat low and manageable, which is great. And it kind of adds that fun little competition of like log in right when I get that notification on my phone. But yeah, so I think that Periscope, I've seen a lot of YouTubers. One of my really good friends, Amanda from Amanda Muse on YouTube, she uses Periscope regularly throughout the day. And it's fun. Because you get a glimpse into this influencer, the celebrity, or this person that you are just generally interested in. And then you kind of get that quote one-on-one interaction with them where they can, very explicitly respond to Sally's question about how's the weather today? Oh, the weather's great here, Sally. How's the weather where you are? Where are you? You know what I mean? It's very conversational. It's very engaging. So I think that it's supplementing the experience. It's kind of like where a lot of YouTubers will have their main channel, like myself, main channel and a vlogging channel that kind of gives like behind the scenes, but there still is that dimension of separation because it's not real time. You're not seeing it as it happens. And, the vlogging stuff, I don't think, like the day in the life stuff, I don't think that will go away because it's like a cleaner little package. You get the editing capabilities. You get to like only do the shots where you have 6 chins instead of 9 chins. And you know what I mean? So it's, I definitely don't think, and it's longer form. I think Periscope also has a time restraint where you can't broadcast for more than an hour. So, not that I don't think personally anyone's going to be like, I would love to spend an hour just watching you live. But we do kind of have that Big Brother society. You know what I mean? The TV show, not like the government conspiracy thing. And or both. We do. They're watching you. So I think that just culturally and like in society, we're kind of interested to have that glimpse into how other people are living, to find that kind of relatability and like, wow, someone in Malaysia might be doing the same thing I'm doing in California, and that's kind of cool,
How do you feel about all the people that are then saving their Periscope videos and putting them on YouTube later? As somebody that's a YouTuber.
You know what? I don't really have like a strong, like, I'm sort of neutral on that. But the only thing that annoys me about it is that it's vertical. And I really wish that they would make a responsive interface that when because I filmed, I think at Mom 2.0 in May out in Scottsdale, I filmed, I think like 4 or 5 of us were periscoping at the same time at one table outside just at lunchtime. And I had mine sideways. I had it landscape because, not that I did anything with it afterward, but I was just like, and a lot of people were like, oh, well, I can't read the comments and whatever. So, I'm like, I don't think I have wizard eyes, but I'm like, I can see sideways and still kind of read, bottom to top what your comment or your question was and things like that. But then, I just that's the only thing that I don't like about the YouTube uploads. If there was one thing, is that you're vertical, you got that portrait format, and it drives me crazy. So, but it's kind of the same thing. People for years have been doing the same thing with Snapchats. They'll make a Snap story, and then they just kind of, have the option set in their Snapchat settings to camera roll everything that they publish. And then they put it in the same thing and then upload it to YouTube. So I just think it's, it's a way to appeal to the different communities, because YouTube is very much a community. YouTube is as much a service as Hulu Plus is, or, Fox, a traditional cable network or a streaming service. A lot of people only watch YouTube for their like TV viewing. You know what I mean? So they'll sit and they'll watch 2 or 3 hours after everyone's asleep at night, and they watch all of their favorite YouTube channels, as opposed to, half a season of Bob's Burgers on Netflix. You know what I'm saying? So
I just binge watched your channel.
Oh, you did? I know. You were giving me kind of play-by-plays, and I was not mad about it. I'll say that.
I was like, and now I'm watching this video.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. And then there is this one.
What? I love it. Honestly, as a creator, that like gives you the warm tinglies that you just never, it feels nice. So thank you.
So creating content 3 times a week. How?
A lot of insanity goes into a decision like that. I know a lot of my friends are like, girl, I can't even stick with one upload a week. Like, what the heck? And I think that the simplicity or the feasibility of that choice was that I seriesed. So there are different content series.
Right.
So that kind of, it's not like I'm uploading just whatever I feel like 3 times a week. I do that 1 day a week, is like what can I think of that could be fun and, relevant in pop culture or web culture or whatever. So I do that on Fridays. And then Wednesday I have, I wish that there was like a blinking like self-promotion, but I guess that's kind of the whole concept of this, being here.
Momentary self-promotion. Yeah.
Right. So Wednesday then I have the series Answer and Stuff, where I prompt the audience on Saturday afternoon with a topic, and then people, I just saw that I'm like hunchbacking. My post-it, forget I'm on video. But, so I prompt them on Saturday afternoon with a topic, and then they ask questions, and then I collect them and I entertainingly answer them, which is never really, I think I've genuinely answered a question 1 time in the almost 2 years that I've done the series. It's just fun, and it's fun. And that was the first series that I launched when I launched the channel. Because I wanted to come out of the gate as a place where everybody was part of it, The only way that
bringing the community in,
right,
the community help you generate the content in a way.
Right, exactly. And it really is, it's very dependent. I think the first 2 or 3 episodes, I had to make up the questions because nobody knew what the hell I was doing. They were like, I don't know why you're asking me to ask you questions about this. Like, that's weird. And so no one did, because they're like, I don't even know what you're doing with this. And so I kind of had to make them up. And then as people kind of got, oh, okay, this is what she's doing. This is, okay, this is fun. All right, that was a funny joke. Okay, like, let me see. Now it's kind of like this fun, 3 or 4 day game where people get to like be a part of it, submit things. And then, in a few days, they get to see the turnaround. Like, did I make it in? What did she say if I did? All of that kind of thing. And so I wouldn't have any question. I wouldn't have anything to create to on Tuesday or Wednesday morning if I'm lazy. If it weren't for, you, the people. So, that's been really, really fun because, and I'll say, here's a little behind the scenes factoid on that series in particular. Up until about a month or 2 ago, I was getting in a manageable number of questions where I could use everyone's question in an episode. So everybody who submitted a question, they were going to be in the episode. I mean, I didn't really broadcast or announce that was the situation, but it was kind of like, oh yeah, and it was really exciting. Well, in the past month or 2, it's, a sign of positive growth is that the videos would be 20 minutes long if I was answering every single person who submits a question. So, I kind of have, some people don't make it in. So now there's that element of, the bummer where I'm like, I feel so bad because I couldn't put them in. And like, I'm having to make these executive decisions on, what can I answer funny? Because I improv. The whole series is improv. I don't script the answers or responses ahead of time. I collect them in a very skim type of way. And then when I turn the camera on, that's where if I'm doing like a dance response or something like that, that comes to me as, it's the red light is blinking. So, but it's fun that way, and it keeps it fun and fresh that way, I think.
Okay, so sometimes you have on like wigs and other things.
Yeah, I just buy those.
Keep like a prop box handy.
I do have a prop box. I have a closet in the living room where I shoot it that has a whole bunch of hooks, and it has a whole bunch of different kinds of wigs on it, and I have like costumes and props and all this kind of stuff in that closet. So I do just kind of have a lot of ridiculous things on hand, and there will be times in my collection process, which is usually like on Sunday or Monday, if I see something that I can tell I could improv very funnily with this, and I don't have it, it gives me time to go get it type thing. But for the most part, it's all stuff I just own.
Now we know where this crazy Halloween wigs go to die.
Yes, crazy Halloween wigs that go on discount at the end of every season. Just come to my house.
Come to your house
forever.
So what's your third of your series?
Yeah, the third of my series is on Mondays. I run a series called Crap You Don't Need This Week, which is of kind of a tilt on its ear version of a very popular video type on YouTube that are haul videos or my favorites. A lot of YouTubers will do like my favorites in July, or
especially like their subscription boxes that came in.
Right, like Ipsy or Birchbox, or I'm blanking on
any of them,
Stitch Fix, whatever, any of them. And I was like, this is fun. Those are fun, but one, they're real long. People talk way too much about a lipstick or a bag of popcorn, or they're just talking way too long. And I was like, how could I make this fun and fast and funny? So the concept there is that I Started, the first one I did, I just gathered crap from around my house. I think it was like laundry, de-wrinkler, and like some chips I liked, you know, and it was like, you need air, shelter, and water, you know, like to survive. Like we don't need any of these things, but you know, that was one of the kind of like things that I kept seeing in these haul videos and these unboxing videos was people were like this desperate, like you need to own this. And I'm like, nah, you don't really need to own it, but it's fun to own it. You can want to own it. So that's sort of the play there in the titling where it's like crap you don't need, but I'm going to tell you about it because you might want it. And so that's what I do every Monday. And I hold up the product and then I give it like a 1 or 2 liner and then I move on to the next thing. So it's not really me talking about, and the packaging seems like it's a viscous plastic material. Like nobody cares. We're not Bill Nye. We're not, you know, scientists. Neil deGrasse Tyson is not watching your haul video about lipstick. So, yeah.
Neil's going to start talking about what's in the lip gloss I'm using.
Right, exactly. So well, this is a compound of,
compound of chemicals you probably don't want to know
You probably
about.
don't want to be putting near your mouth. Ingestion site, yeah.
You mentioned a good point on there. I know I get this question all the time from people about blogging. There's two. They go hand in hand. How frequently, if I want to go start a YouTube channel tomorrow, how frequently should I be doing it? Mm-hmm. And how long should my videos be?
Okay, so the first question is going to be easy for me to answer. The second one's going to be a little more complex. So how often you should upload? At least once a week. That's really going to assist you in kind of like building that viewership, building the interest, because that consistency is going to be manageable for anyone new that's coming into the experience. In terms of myself, I expanded to multiple days every 6 months. I was not doing it. I did not come out of the gate with, I'm uploading 7 times a week and everybody watches it, you know? So it's just kind of one of those things where you kind of like do a little and get people, build the interest, and then, you know, maybe add more into it. But I think that the most manageable thing for anybody that's first starting, because it is like, once you start it, you realize, whoa, this is like, there is so much to this and so much of a different world that, especially if you've never created to digital media previously, right. You're learning so many things about how to promote and how to amplify that content once it does live, on a video platform. So once a week would be a definite recommend. And then run time. Hold on, I've got phlegm.
I'm gonna let you breathe.
Yeah.
Do you normally once a week, like the same day over and always the same day roughly as well?
Yeah, definitely try to do that. Because that is, treat it a little bit or treat it a lot of it kind of like network programming, even though the content will exist beyond that time. But, I like to publish on the same day and time. Hold on, I have a child coming in for a question. Yes.
My iPad has low battery.
Okay, you can find a cord in one of the drawers if you'd like. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. That's also
day in the life.
Yeah, day in the life. Surprise. So yeah, I personally like to upload on the same day, same time, so that it, anyone who is habituated to that has something kind of like to look forward to. You know right. what I mean? And then, the beauty of digital media is that it lives beyond that. It's there forever, or until you try to take it down, and then it's probably still somewhere cached. But
or I've ripped it off of YouTube.
Or you've ripped it. Yeah, you've rebooted it and you've published it on, Jukin or whatever. So, yeah, I would try to, if you're going to start into it, you're going to do 1 upload a week. Do it every Thursday at 10 a.m. Do it. And, you know, there are a lot of listening tools that you can look at in terms of what the context of the content is, whatever niche it's in. You can kind of research a little bit online and see. Why not, honey? Okay, go on the other side of my bed, and there's a little nubbin for you to use. Sorry, the iPad is dying, folks.
The iPad is dying.
The iPad is dying. The world must pause. Do you see it? The green and black one? Did you get it?
The green and black one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm holding it right now.
Okay, great. Victory is yours for the day. Bye-bye. Can you close my door? Thank you. Okay, sorry. I think we're good now. The iPad will now charge.
Such is the life of a work-at-home parent.
A work-at-home parent. It's just, it happens. Yeah, so there's a lot of listening tools. There's a lot of, you can kind of go out and do a little market research, if you will, and find out if you're going to do tech content, what's, you know, when are a lot of people in the same genre uploading? And is that working? And YouTube has a lot of insights built in after you've uploaded content for a while, where you can kind of see timing and things like that, like when throughout the day are people actually, you may be uploading at 8 a.m., but nobody's really watching until 5 or 6 p.m. Maybe you shift it to later in the afternoon, that kind of thing. So now let's talk about the runtime thing. So runtime, the illustrious runtime. You know, yeah. Let's do a dance.
Dance party.
For those who are just listening, I'm sorry you missed that. But I really kind of bristle a little bit and cringe when anyone gives the sort of confine of it should be between 3 and 5 minutes.
Only
5 minutes is too long. You know what I mean? Like 5 minutes and 5 seconds, way too long of a video. And I think that is true if you're just going to slowly bumble and you're going to have a full one take, no editing, no transitions, all of your all of your pregnant pauses, all of that kind of stuff. I'm going to get bored of that probably after 45 seconds if we're being totally honest. But you know, I taught a workshop in Scottsdale, and this was one of the subjects that myself and Jenny Chu from Jenny Chu Tube covered, is it's not necessarily about runtime as it is about your timing. And I think that if you are able to deliver the information or the entertainment or whatever it is in a concise and captivating, if you don't give anyone the opportunity to become bored, then they won't. And what kind of ignites the boredom opportunity is the and the pregnant pauses and the pausing too long between thought and things like that, because it's not an in-person conversation. So you have that chemistry that's extracted from the experience. So they're more focused on what is coming out of your mouth or what you're presenting to them in a visual capacity than they would be if you were sitting across a table from them. So they're more focused on you, which is kind of crappy that's real, but we won't get into that. But, so you need to maintain their attention, retain the attention. And the example I give is my 2 highest viewed videos. They have the most views on them, and the longest retention. We're talking between 83 and 92% retention, and that just means the length of the run time that they've consumed. One of them is 8 and a handful of minutes long, 8 minutes and a handful of seconds long, about baloney. It was an Answer and Stuff episode where I said, what do you want to know about baloney? And it's baloney answers about baloney, and people watched 83 to 92% of a nonsensical, non-informative, strictly entertainment piece of content on baloney. And And then the other is, I think it's like a 6 or 7 minute video about, it's another answer and stuff. So it's nonsense again, right? So it does not necessarily have to be within a certain start time, stop time, but what you need to focus more on is maintaining that captivation, staying captivating no matter how long between the start and stop time, whether that's 2 minutes or 20 minutes. You know, I've personally sat and watched those adorable young British YouTubers who do their daily in the life vlogs. Those are running 15 to 18 minutes long. And I sit there and watch the whole thing because you're becoming invested and they're keeping it exciting, and they're not including the parts of their day where they're just sitting on their couch and not talking. And you know what I mean? They're introducing the fun, captivating, interesting dialogue, not necessarily always fun. Sometimes it's, you know, they're having a very heartfelt moment with you or whatever, but they're presenting the content that's going to keep you engaged with it. So on runtime, don't worry so much about start and stop time. Worry about filling the time between there with something that people are going to keep wanting to watch.
Do you recommend normally going back and editing things down, editing out?
Definitely. I mean, there are not as many people in the world who are trained on clear articulation and understanding mental beats and kind of the flow of verbal pause and things like that. So you're probably one of the less, you know, majority that is not that. So don't be afraid to go, you know, I always say, don't fear the jump cut. You know, a lot of people think, oh, a jump cut is just so cold and dead and it takes away and things like that. But it really doesn't. It really doesn't if, you know, I abuse jump cuts because sometimes I'm like, I mean, especially for answering stuff, it's improv. If I just, you know, there's maybe 5 to 6 seconds of me after I read because I'm not a robot, after I read the question where I have to think, what's funny here? And then it comes to me and then I deliver it. If you saw the what's funny here part, you would be like, all right, get along. Okay, let's keep going. Come on. So don't be afraid to go back and take out those moments. And I think, especially if you're editing for yourself and you're not outsourcing that, which is definitely something to consider. If you are like, I do not want to sit with iMovie or Movie Maker or Premiere or Final Cut after I'm done with it and like sift through things and like put it all together into something, outsource it. There are so many people, you know, post-production people, you know, film school students who are interested in building that practice and stuff like that. Find them, you know, and outsource that.
And beg them.
And you know, and also be reasonable. If it's going to be a means of barter, make it a barter worthwhile. If it's going to be, you know, the exchange of monies and like a contract hire thing, you know, don't be disrespectful to it and be like, can I pay you $5 a video? You know what I mean? Like, you know, make it worthwhile for everybody involved. But, you know, if you're going to sit there and you're going to do it yourself, you have to kind of have like this weird corny out of body, you know, experience. Don't look at it like it's you. Look at it like somebody who doesn't know you, who has no, you know, pre-context to who you are and your personality and things like that. So look at it like you're a stranger watching it for the first time ever. They've never experienced your writing or your videos or anything. And they're coming to the party for the first time, and like offer them the good bowl of chips, not the one the kids all touched, you know?
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, everyone who's eating chips right now while you listen. They're like, what?
So sorry. Maybe go wash your hands.
Yeah.
Benjamin has a really great question it ties right into this of how do you overcome a time when you're coming close to the scheduled time? So let's say your post goes live every Wednesday at 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when you're like, I have no energy for this week? You know, maybe I've just had the plague or I'm just not inspired. I asked this question and the answer's, I asked a question asking for questions.
Yeah.
And the questions I got back aren't inspiring me to answer, whatever the case may be. We all have those days where we don't want to do the work. So
right.
How do you
so here's the thing. So the week I was sick, I did not upload one single time. And the beauty of digital media and the kind of the beauty of building this own experience, and this is why I think that it's so important, and I'm so insistent that when you start anything, a blog or a YouTube channel or any kind of digital media experience, any content consumpting, that's not a word. Consumpting. Yeah, we're just gonna move past that flubba-dub. But anytime you start something like that, do it with the mindset of building a community. I don't want 9 million robots coming to my content. I want 9 million humans, who are, living, breathing, dynamic, beautiful human beings to be experiencing this and to have elements of, and I want them not to be fans. I want them to be friends. I want them to feel like this, like I'm creating the Cheers bar on the internet. You know what I mean?
And therefore they're going to have some empathy for you.
And there's going to be empathy. There's going to be understanding there, that if 10 a.m. on Wednesday comes along and I don't have a video up and you joke about this empire or this universe that you build. And I call it the Sugarlippo experience because it's not singular to one space. It's not just on sugarlippo.com. It's not just on my channel. It's not just on Facebook. It's everywhere. I've reached everywhere, and I give the time and care to each platform that I'm bringing the experience to, the amount of attention that it deserves, so that I can, and that people are interested then, and they can identify, wow, she's really putting care into this. So I'm going to also follow her here, because if I'm following her here and she's this thoughtful, she must be the same way there. And, and to not have them go to that place and be like, well, clearly she just abandons this piece of crap, doesn't think anything about it. So, which I want to be clear, doesn't mean that you're giving the same number of hours to every single thing, but it's just the, treating the platforms with the care that they deserve. And so I know that I don't have, this many people in the YouTube experience, but none of them are following me on Facebook. So I can't, that it's just platform specific. They're not platform independent, they're dependent. So I'll hop on my Facebook and just say, like, listen, dudes, life, I'm not feeling it. I'm not whatever. And it's amazing when you have spent the time to create that friend, empathy line, that people, then they're leaving funny memes to cheer you up, or they're whatever. And I've had moments like that. And the community has pepped me up enough, and I've put it up at 10 p.m. that night, because I had that moment. I had that, we're all in this together, like lift you up kind of cheesiness. And that's okay. Nobody is going to unsubscribe and ban you and block you on Facebook and all this stuff because you didn't, upload it at the same exact time. So,
and if they did, good riddance.
Exactly. And if they did, then they're like they must be like a C-level executive at a traditional network or something like that. You know what I mean? But no, nothing's going to crumble, in this medium if it's, a few hours or a day or a couple days late. I have 2 answering stuffs that I have never, 2 or 3 that I've not done the videos for, that I've prompted for. I've gotten great questions. One of them was last week when I was sick, and it was dancing, and there was just no way I could pull through. Like, I was like, still kind of had a voice at the time. I was like, I could probably, gussy up a little bit and verbally respond, but this was all physical comedy. That you can't do that with a head cold and your head's gonna like just bobbling around, your brain's gonna fall out your ear. So I just shelved it, but I have that to work on and release, and it's gonna kind of be, I'd like to pat myself on the back that I've created experience that's going to be exciting and fun and extra and bonus and like special when I do release it. You know what I mean? So yeah. So Ben, don't get too caught up because, you're a human, even though you're existing in a robot box to the people, across the country or whatever that are seeing the things that you create. Deep down, we all know that we're all human. So we have those moments.
Well, and I think depending on people's personality types, they can get really hung up on that. Like, and I've even seen people who have started blogging. I've seen it most in blogging where they're like, I'm always going to put a post up every Wednesday, and then they miss a Wednesday, and then maybe they have to miss a second Wednesday, and then they're like, oh, forget it. And they just stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, I guess. Like,
yes, definitely.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the biggest thing is going to be, kind of like forgiving yourself and giving yourself the empathy that you would expect from, your community type thing, is that it's, and, when I was doing a lot of for hire client work, if there was some sort of, thing that they really needed, like immediate, all of this, and they kind of treated the issue or whatever like they were dying because I wasn't responding to it. I would always kind of joke after, the dust had settled a little bit that, like, if you're dying, you are dialing the wrong phone number to get me. You need to be calling 911. We learned that in kindergarten. So, and it kind of puts it in a fun, way. It puts it into perspective, like, yeah, like nothing, if your office building is on fire and you think, I think Jess might be good with a fire extinguisher, and you call me, then that's a you thing. You're not calling the right phone number. So, but everything else is not, nothing else is going to crumble because it's not there when you want it to be, or when, even in some cases when other people expect it to be there with this.
One of those questions I think I know the answer to, but I should ask anyways. This is your work. This is your day job, quote, day job, night job, whenever you end up doing.
Whenever.
4 a.m. job.
Yes.
Do you tend to make most of your money off of it through the ads that YouTube runs, or?
Yeah. So, most of it, there are a lot of different ways to earn through video content. And I'll say that the majority of the, if I broke it down the pie chart or percentages of something, ad revenue is the smallest. Ad revenue is kind of the most difficult to come by because it's very statistically based. It's dependent on views and hard numbers. Whereas a majority of my income from this comes from appearances or, like cast, being cast on a project and things like that. So sort of third party, that was by virtue, of the experience that I'm creating. So sort of that indirect revenue. And then direct, in terms of direct, the higher percentage is brand deals, sponsored opportunities, creating content that I can run on my space, and being paid, a solid amount for that kind of thing. Right. So there's tons of different ways to monetize through video.
Well, and because everybody's path is going to be a little bit different. They may be doing it because they want to, like you mentioned, they may want to be bringing in clients, or they may want to, whatever the case may be. It may just lead them to other opportunities. So don't look at it as a view of, oh, there's only one right way to do this.
Right, exactly. I mean, there are tons. I mean, I know a few people that a majority of the money they make as a result of having had a YouTube channel or multiple YouTube channels are, like I've done, like being cast in a project or being, hired to host something on sometimes a brand's channel. And that's okay. But it's kind of like you can use it either as the means, like the end all be all means where you're pulling ad revenue or direct sponsorship opportunity, or you can use it kind of like a portfolio, like a photographer would have a magazine site that has all of their work or some client portfolio type thing. So you can use it in tons of different ways. And then I know some people that just have a YouTube channel. They're not video creators, aren't regularly video creators, but they're using it as an additive space for the success they've built with their website. So their website has garnered, lots and lots of attention, lots of viewership, lots of brand interest, and they can sell video to that. Because they've created, well-produced video, and they can point to their YouTube channel and say, look, here it is, and here are the views and things like that. So they get that performance metric that they can bring into it. And they didn't necessarily aggressively promote it via YouTube, but they embedded it on their website that did have that traffic. So there are ways to, it's a very malleable tool, that YouTube.
Well, and I think a lot of, I don't want to leave out, there's one whole group that I feel sometimes we leave them out in different conferences that we've attended, and even in this conversation. There's the other group. They're just doing it for the love of it. And that's awesome. You don't actually have to do things for money.
Yes.
You can do it just because you want to.
Exactly. Yes.
If you want to make 3 videos a week because that brings you joy in your life, awesome. If you want to write 5 blog posts a week, fantastic. Go take Instagram photos of your food and curate your life on Instagram. I always hate leaving people out. Like,
yes, no, I totally agree, because I'll even say when I first started answering stuff on YouTube, I just did it because it was fun. I didn't think it was going to be anything. I didn't think, and I think that is the tricky thing, especially for people kind of in our space that might be branching to it or things like that, is that they're looking too far down maybe a road that content doesn't need to necessarily travel. And, I have a very good friend in Seattle who just started doing YouTube as a creative outlet. She had a young child at home, and it was just fun. It was fun to kind of make fun home movies and all of this stuff. And she's garnered tons and tons of attention on YouTube, and had, people pretty much throwing money at her. And she goes, I just don't care about that. That's not why I'm doing it. And that is okay. Like, I want people to know that not every, and I think that that's just kind of like a culture thing that we've kind of morphed into, is that like anything you do has to at some point make you money. And that's not how it is. Like just because you love knitting, right? Just because you love knitting does not mean you need to open an Etsy shop and sell your knitting wares. You can just knit to have tons of comfy blankets in your house. That's cool too.
And, I think if you're not doing it, if you're just doing something to monetize it and you don't have a love for it, you're going to get stuck really pretty early on. You're going to get stuck for content, and you're going to get burned out on doing it and desire just even to make it happen if you're not doing it for the right reason.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of goes back to, Ben's thing, like that pressure will only exist if you kind of create that necessity, like that it's a need. The internet needs to see this, or needs, there's just that it's not, it's okay. It's just okay. You know what I mean? It's okay.
So one other question for you before we wrap up. I should honor Chris Reed's question here. And, how do you feel about Canada? I'm going there I'm going up there in September and really excited about it. It's my annual trip to Canada.
To Canada.
Have you ever been to Canada?
I have been to Canada. I've been to the western side of Canada, British Columbia in particular. And I enjoy Canada greatly. Some of the most lovely people that I know live in Canada. They're Canadians, and I love them so much. And Chris is one of those Canadians that I just adore. So a great question, Chris. I think you also knew I would answer that way. But yeah, I love Canadians.
Although let's not tell Chris the west side is the best side.
Yeah. Just earmuffs for that part.
Sorry.
Earmuffs. Yeah. So I love Canada. I really, really want to. I've never really experienced Eastern Canada, so I'd love to go to like Toronto and Ottawa and that, because I have a lot of friends that I've made through my magic internet box who live up there, and I should probably just get my passport in order and do kind of like a Canadian tour next summer or something.
Let's do a Canadian tour.
That would be very fun.
I'll carry the camera for you.
There you go. You could be my shooter. This would be great. This will be great.
I could be your carbon form voice activated tripod.
Yes. Oh, I have been looking for one of those on Amazon. They've not been on a great deal. So they're
a little bit expensive. So.
Yeah, they're kind of pricey to own a person. Yeah. So I've heard. Through my child. Yeah. Through virtue of
hold your camera for you.
Exactly.
Are there, we talked about length and time, and just if there was like one tip, if I was showing up right now, I said, hey, I'm starting my YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. Is there any tips that we haven't covered that you would?
Starting my YouTube channel. Let's see. I don't know. A lot of, I think that I know that a lot of the advice that I give is kind of more on the experience and the logistics, because YouTube even has a great like starting creator guide, that you can go through and it tells you like the brass tacks of like how to upload and all of that kind of thing. And how to light and all of that stuff. And I definitely love to share that information. But I think the most important piece of advice I give, and then the first piece of advice I give to anybody who's like, hey, I'm starting YouTube. How should I come at it? And the first thing I say is have fun. Just have fun and make sure you're having fun. It doesn't necessarily mean that your content needs to be funny. Or, if you're a very like data-driven person and you want to make, these research-based videos about animals, and that just brings you joy to know those things and to learn those things, have fun doing that. And then putting it together you'll be surprised at how second nature it comes. Everything that I know that I've done with the content I've made, I taught myself as I went. I had no mentor. I had nobody teaching me and showing me. And I just went into it and I was like, this is going to be fun. I'm going to have fun and I'm going to try to be funny. And it's going to be great if I have fun. And then everything else will fall into place. Like it's very hippy dippy kismet. But it really is because if you can stay in a light and excited headspace from the get-go but if you're like stressed, if you're too heady about, was that funny enough? Was that, this or that or the other thing? You can't be too critical of yourself especially in video, I think. Just don't be like hunchback and wear a hat like a douche in your, in your video podcast. But so say it, do as I say, not as I do.
You're allowed to wear hats today. They're helping.
I am.
Your
They're
head
helping my
clear.
sinus pressure. They're pulling my sinus.
And I have empathy for your illness.
Thank you. Thank you.
And like you said about creating the experience, I think it's kind of funny looking back. The very first comment was Ben saying, Jessi has her voice back. Yay.
Yes. Right.
Like the community knows
Mm-hmm.
your most engaged followers, the people that really truly care about you, will know. Mm-hmm. They'll know what's going on. They'll be really understanding. And right. I think in all of these online mediums, you have to, it's not easy, but you sort of have to have a thick skin about, I'm not going to please everyone.
Right.
You know, not everyone's going to be happy. Some people are going to come along, see it, be turned off, and just walk away.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
That is okay. It's very okay.
As scary as it is, because I mean, we're being vulnerable. We're putting ourselves out there.
Right, right. I know it's a very fine line to kind of balance on putting yourself out there, especially I think when you're doing very first person stuff. You know, like a lot of people that are getting into like the day in the life stuff, where they're like, maybe that's how I can do video, and that's kind of how I want to just share. Like maybe I have a thought in my car and I want to fire up my camera and talk about it, and be vulnerable there. And then, you know, you have those people that are just bitter people that spend their time on the internet that are going to come into that and try to tear that down. So, but then to that one person, you probably have a dozen or more people that are empathizing. They're like, oh my God, I was thinking the same exact thing after I dropped my kids off at school, or I left that, you know, job interview or whatever. So know that there are so many more people. So have fun and know that there are so many more people that are going to relate to you than are not, you know, even if that one person who does not relate to you or does not agree with you or whatever, does not empathize with you, is the one that's the most vocal about it. Know that there are probably more vulnerable people that are not as, you know, willing or comfortable or brave to express it, you know, as you've been by putting it into a video or onto a blog or whatever. But they are sitting and very furiously nodding their head in agreement. So
I always call them, they're the vocal minority. They are the minority of people that are listening to you, whether it's listening, reading, whatever. But they are the most vocal about it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's hard to not drown that voice out. So
yes, it is.
You know, have a close posse of friends that you can go to like check in with. Kind of give you a hug, and the virtual hug.
True. That virtual hug.
Yeah. Well, and it's all about building community, but you know, also I think it's really important to be mindful and to have almost like it's like the inner circle of your community. You know, who's the tightest with you that you know you can check in with. So
absolutely
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad that you recovered and mostly in time.
Yes.
Here today. And I, especially in this case, you and I both have impossible to spell names. So for our podcast listeners, there will be show notes on my website with links to your YouTube channel and to anything else that we've talked about today so that people can find them. And maybe we'll even talk offline if there's any websites and tutorials that we should link to that we'll share as well over on ChristineTremoulet.com or BusinessBrilliantly.com. They both go to the same home. One is a lot easier to spell out loud than the other.
We don't make it easy.
No, we don't make it easy. And my name's even longer than yours, so.
Yeah.
Hey, is there a story behind Sugarlippo?
Yes.
What does it mean?
So the story, so my last name is Sanifilippo, like the Italian stallion. And my husband's last name is Shug. So I just sort of hybrided the two names together because I knew it would just kind of be a conglomeration of, it was going to be a mishmash of everything. So I figured the name should be a mishmash of what it was going to ultimately be. So
I'm sure you get that question all the time.
yeah, because mostly from people who are like, did you just like swear at me in Russian or something? I don't know what you just said out loud, but I feel weird about it. I don't know if I should fight you or hug you. I don't know. So yeah.
I'm going to go with hug.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with hugs. Big hugs to you. Props to you.
Whoop, props. Whoop, whoop.
So thank you, everyone who tuned into our first inaugural live audience episode. That was great. It was good having questions from you guys as well. So thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.